Hi, I'm Sarah, one of the publishers with Third Wheel, and welcome to the So I Wrote a Book podcast. Today we're talking to S.E. Ainsley about her book, How to Murder a Monster. There were some technical difficulties, but let's get into it.
So, what brought you to start writing?
Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of like a fun, like it's like a croissant, like the multi-level question. So I'll try to be succinct, which is not my strong suit, but that's why you can edit. Um, I found a book that I wrote when I was like, I don't know, 5, like that I had like this collection of little books that I wrote, and I had gone and gotten paper. I grew up in the 90s. So I'd gone and like gotten like this printer paper that used to have like these edges on it that you would like peel off. And I'd gotten that and I stapled it together and I like wrote this story, and like I used like my dad's name as like the main character, and it was like creative. It had a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it was like a little dramatic and kind of deep. And I was like, this has a lot going on to it. And so it's like, that's like, ever since then, like I'm one of those kids, like I got online at some point and posted stories, God knows where, like that I just tried my best and I was like practicing, and there was strangers who knew, who knows who they were, but people who were like encouraging me. I'm like 12. I'm like, but also sometimes, you never know, internet's a shady place, but sometimes very fun and make a lot of friends. And so, yeah, the encouragement, I just kept writing. And then I kind of took a break from it. In like my early 20s when my life got like a little bit more intense. And then I got back to it to kind of help myself get over that trauma or move past the trauma or live with the things that I'd been through. And that's how it turned into writing How to Murder a Monster, is that I wrote a book and it was like 100,000 words of just like word vomit. And then I took that and I was like, I actually kind of have something here, but I want to change everything about it and just keep the vibes of the story. And then so I pantsed it and wrote How to Murder a Monster.
Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm S.E. Ainsley. That's kind of my nom de plume, my like persona. It's like my Sasha Fierce. And that is I'm still myself. I'm very genuine. I am, like a river. I just flow. I like talk. I'm comfortable around people. And so for me, and just like, I'm still genuinely myself, but I keep like my life very separate from it. And so I am my online TikTok persona. And then I am also myself, which like I keep my name out of things for the most part. And that's just kind of like my whole thing. But I do talk about like who I am. Like I'm a mom. I'm married. I'm a queer person. I am mid-30s, somewhere in there. I'm kind of like a private person. I'm also like a showman, like showwoman. I mean, what's the word for that? Show person. Yeah. So like, I love like interacting and being online. And I came from making movies as well, like in small competitions in Sacramento. I've met a few people all over and done like children's theater. I used to do a traveling children's theater group where we'd go to like high schools and like warn them about like drugs and stuff. So I've like done so much just like silly acting in different ways. I make videos with friends. I collab with friends. Just did a collab with 2 friends from high school, Colton and Keith. They're my homies that are their Skylit Studios is their place. Shout out to that. And so like they're just friends that I like to act with. So like we just make videos, and sometimes they're kind of just like things that at the time we find funny, and if we find that audience, because I think you build for your audience. And so you ask me like about who I am, I'll just like
Now, what was the editing process like for you?
I love busy work that has to do with books specifically. Like it's something, yeah, my like jobs that I've had that I've really enjoyed are jobs that I'm like, take this here and put that there, and like just like organizing things and going through and finding errors. Oh my gosh, like my dream job would just be somewhere where I could be like, I don't like that, I do like this. Like it's just something that I'm like very good at. I'm not mean. I'm just honest. And so it's like I could do that for myself and know that I'm not being mean or being critical. And I also really like help. When I was in college, just as like an example, I would take every paper that I wrote to the professor before it was due and like run it through with them, with them. And then they would tell me like what I could change, and then I'd edit it. And that was like my way to like get good grades. And I just realized I was like, oh, literally all you have to do is just like ask. And so Like when I realized how fun editing was, I just like started asking friends to do it. And so I had a few friends go through, and I had like my alpha readers, which like read the junk, which were I like appreciate so much. And then I have friends now that are reading the latest versions, and they kind of like I keep bringing more and more people into it as I meet more and more people who are interested, and they help with my editing. It's at a point where I went through and I did a full edit several times, and hard is like, it's complex because I love doing it, but there's definitely times I'm like pulling my hair out, like for sure, like not always fun, but it's also, I always, when I get to those points, I just remind myself, like, this is what I want more than anything. I have a sticker that says, "How bad do you want it?" on my laptop. That helps me. That helps me. Helps me when I'm editing. I'm like, ugh. Yeah.
Has it been difficult promoting yourself on BookTok?
I have a lot of friends that post about that. I have a lot of friends who have grown with on TikTok who are saying, who have started saying things like, "I didn't want to put my face in the video." And I'm like, I definitely went through that period because I started my TikTok less than 6 months ago. I didn't know I had to have one. And when I started kind of getting into the querying world, I talked to a family member who's author, Caitlin Starling. She's this horror author. She's amazing. I need to reorder a copy of The Luminous Dead, one of my favorite books by hers, because I lost it in my move. But I talked with her. I'm so privileged to have an author in the family. And she's just like this renowned award-winning, amazing author. And she warned me about like how hard everything was going to be. And it was just kind of like that first step into like, it's going to be hard. And then she also told me like that kind of like when you're putting yourself out there, like being online is important. I looked at her social media and like checked out like how many friends she had and like how she interacted with them. And so it's just like a good way to kind of like, it kind of helped me step into it. So like she's doing it, and she's this person that is entertaining, and she like, trying is hard because I was raised in a culture of trying is embarrassing. The 90s, early 2000s, that was like a big thing, like that, like trying was embarrassing. So it's to already either have it, like you have to be born into it, or don't ever try. And so like trying is, feels embarrassing. So I had to really get past that hump. And so when I was able to like connect with other book talkers, and so Caitlin doesn't do book talk. She's on Instagram. But maybe I'm wrong. I should check that out. She might do book talk. But like other people that I've connected with on BookTok, they kind of like help me get them out of my shell, because like I'll see one of them dancing and I'm like, oh, I can dance. Why can't I dance? Like, yeah. So it's definitely there. It's definitely there. The imposter syndrome.
Have you had any imposter syndrome while writing your book or editing?
I totally go there. Like I know that sometimes I can come off because I'm a little loud and I talk fast and I'm like confident for the most part. I have the worst imposter syndrome. I am myself, like in the mirror. I'm like the woman in the mirror that's like, who are you to do? I'm like trying to leave Hades and I'm like, turn around and look, no one's following you. It's just like, that's me. But at the same time, I'll like talk back and I'm like, nope, don't do that. Yeah. I got to be one of my biggest fans.
It was kind of cool that you had done some work with the school systems, helping kids through the acting and all that. I kind of wish something like that was around when we had the DARE program, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
And it was very, very boring. And I wished something like that was around so you could actually be interested in it. And that's pretty cool that you were doing that.
Yeah. I've worked with kids. It's funny because I don't talk a lot about kids because I think kids should stay off the internet. It's a big part of my platform. Like I've actually tried to keep as much private as I can. Like my kids are not part of it. My daughter and I make videos sometimes, but I don't post them on here because it's totally like a whole separate world. Yeah. There's a lot you don't need to put online. There's so much you don't need to put online. Like I make drafts and I save them before I post almost anything because I'm like, let's think it over. Let's rewatch it.
So how long did you work in the restaurant industry?
Okay, so I worked in the restaurant industry for about 9 years. I don't work in it anymore. I quit my job working in healthcare. I did presentations in healthcare. That was my last job. But before that, I worked in restaurants from 2009 to like 2017. I worked in the restaurant industry. And I kind of mostly worked in 2 restaurants. And then I worked at a restaurant called Mulvaney's downtown in Sacramento. That is a city in California, just in case, is the capital. So in case anyone doesn't know, but it's just like the coolest restaurant I've ever worked at in the world. It was just like this wild ride of a restaurant. And because of that, all the experiences that I had while I was there, it was like something that kind of like just got so, it was so deep within who I am as a person. Like I still say corner when I go around corners, like because I think it just makes sense. Like especially at the grocery store. Like I'll be like walking around a corner and I'm like, someone doesn't see me. I'll be like behind, like just like me and my husband in the kitchen, we're like knife. Like it's just lives in me. It's just like, but yeah, like so I mean, it was that like about 8 years, 9 years, give or take. Yeah. So I'm not there anymore, but I have so many friends in the industry, and fine dining is very important to me. Like when I go out to eat, like I've got standards for myself of like the way that I treat the people that are there working, and also standards for like the way that they act. And so it's like if I ever were to be like, it would literally take so much for me to ever, someone would have to like throw my food in my face for me to like go off on them as a server. So like I would never do anything inappropriate. But like when I'm at a restaurant, because I worked at this restaurant, Mulvaney's, that just had like these, it was just like they would make everything happen. And it was so much fun to work. It was like Disneyland. It was just like chaos and fun. And just like there was like a lot of drinking. It was like an earlier time where there was kind of less rules. It was pre-COVID, which is a big thing in my book, is that I based it in this time because it's pre-Me Too and pre-COVID, which is when I worked in the restaurant industry. So I haven't worked in it post-COVID. Like I don't even know what it's like, but now I have so much more sympathy for the people. Like I'm like, every time I go out, which I love to go out, like I would go out sometimes by myself and eat still. And I go to a lot of times, I'll go to like one of my favorite vegan restaurants because I'm vegan. It only took it was like 30 minutes for me to mention it. And so yeah, so like I'll go to one of my like favorite vegan restaurants and I'll just like sit there and write. And like while I'm there, I just like people kind of recognize me because I just like I go and I like talk to them. Like I'll go to like the same places. I'm a creature of habit. Like there's, which I'm like, so I won't mention where they are. But yeah, so like the restaurant industry is like a part of me forever. Like it's like a part of my soul. But it's brutal and I would not be able to work in it anymore. Like physically, like it's, as you get older, some people can love it so much. It's just like their life. Like I know many people who are lifers and it's like, that's because that's what works for them. That's awesome. But like everyone has their own path. And I discovered while I was there, I was like, honestly, like I'm not that great at this. Like I love it a lot, but like I was like learning about wine. It's that I can memorize it from acting. So like I would memorize things and regurgitate them, but I could never like really get like, I wasn't that great. I wasn't the best server. Sorry, all my managers. I tried my best.
How has the querying process been for you?
It's, you know, it's fun. My friend or family member, Caitlin, that told me about it, her word she used was soul crushing. And that was her warning, is that she's like, just so you know, it's soul crushing. She did it. And so she's like, you know, it's people do it, but it's soul crushing. And she kind of gave me like, you know, the warning of that there's going to be like, some people respond really fast. Some people take forever. And she was like, but like, you need to expect, like, you'll be waiting weeks. And she like, even was like, okay, so she like prepared me. She was like, so you're going to be waiting and like, prepare yourself for this. She's like, 6 weeks, you know, like I was like, okay, like, I can do it. And so I went in knowing that. And I think that if I didn't know, it would have been terrifying. Like I would have been like, oh, I'm a terrible author. And who do I think I am? But because I went in knowing that, I was like, I'm just kind of like a statistic, like really like, you know, in this, like, you know, it's like whatever number of how many they get and how much they can read. And like, I'm just like, give people time. And so because I know that, I've got a little bit of a thicker skin. But when I get rejections from people that I really, really liked, and I had sent them, you know, like a message that I just meant so much from the heart and I felt a connection, it hurts, even though I'm sending it knowing like this would be like a parasocial relationship in reality. Like these people do not know me, like they don't have a connection. Just because I felt it doesn't mean it's there. And so it's like, it could be just like what you know, maybe like they posted it on their a manuscript wish list a while ago and they moved on. Or so it's like, sometimes I know I'm going to get them on that day that they already read something just like mine or something like that. And it's just like, it's nothing to do with my writing. It's just like, or the day that they're like, I'm feeling down, your book's kind of dark, move on. And that's like gonna happen. And so because I know that, I've told myself that I'm gonna give it like 100 before I feel bad about it. Because I've imagined I walked around the world and I was just like, you like suspense, right? Would you lay like your whole job on the line to help publish my book to like random people? Like, it would take quite a few to find someone to actually say yes. And so giving myself those stories or telling myself those stories constantly helps me a lot. And I also have a lot of support. My husband's super supportive. My daughter's super supportive. She's like, because she's raised in a supportive household, we try to like lift each other up. And so like, she like told me before this, she's like, I'm so proud of you. And I was like, I didn't even prompt you to say that. Like, you just said it. So I was like, okay. She put this picture over up in the corner in case I get nervous so I can look at it and know that she like is proud of me. And I was like, you're like a kid from a movie. I'm like, she's such a little, like, I don't even know how to, I'm like, it's because she's just theatrical, you know? So yeah. So it's hard try to be succinct. It's hard, but it's the job and it's what I want to do. And this is part of the job. And so, you know, when you have any job, every day is not going to be a win. So yeah. And I give myself time. I pace it out. I'll go manic sometimes and be like, I'm gonna do 3 queries today. And like, for me, a query is like, I'm gonna research the person. I'm gonna find every article I can about them online. And I'm gonna see if this actually is something they would want. Cause I also don't want to hurt my own heart as much as I can. So, you know, to protect myself, I'm like, I haven't queried anyone since the beginning that I was like, like probably not. Because it's just kind of like a waste. If you do that to yourself, I think that makes it a little bit harder. But yeah, only querying the people that I think will actually like it gives me the sense that sometimes I like am going to get a little more hurt because I care. But at the same time, it's like less product, you know, less production.
Has BookTok helped you connect with other women?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love my TikTok community. I have a couple people that I met on TikTok, like when I first got started, that were just a little bit more, they weren't my niche. They were TikTok trying to figure out, you know, the algorithm daddy trying to figure out where I go. And so I have those friends. It's funny because a few of them have stuck around and we're like totally different platforms, but they're just like, that's my girl. And so I'll just like this girl, Taylor, that's I talk with a lot online, and she like will just send me funny videos because there's something that we both thought was funny. And so I'm just like, I don't even know where she, like, obviously I should know where she lives, but it's like, I have no idea where she is in the world. It's just like, we're homies. And I talk to her sometimes. But then I had like my BookTok ladies that I kind of like bonded with. And they, as we filter down and try to figure out where we all actually belong, because there's a lot of different sides of BookTok. There are people on BookTok that will never cross paths because, you know, there's the spice and the no spice and the suspense and the fantasy and the, you know, and then it's like the dark romance and it's like, oh, but what actually dark romance, you know, which is like a whole, because I've thought that I could handle. And then I've read a couple books and I'm like, I cannot continue. And I'm like, oh, I don't even want to keep this. I can't tell anyone I ever read it. I gotta like put it in the refrigerator so like no one knows it's like about it. I'm like, I hate it. But yeah, I have a great community. I actually wanted to, if I could shout out, I have a couple like who's in my Amazon cart right now. I thought that would be kind of fun. I can't, you know, buy everyone's books. I want to. I would, if I could, it would be like, I would be like, this is my everyone in BookTok, but it's not. This is my life collection of them. But it's like right now in my cart, I have It Comes in Waves by Renee Riva and What She Believed by Elizabeth Roberts. I need to reorder Luminous Dead by Caitlin Starling. And then I want to pre-order Transcendence Into the Void by Olivia Patrizzi. And those are some of the women that I've like connected with who's like, we've talked about their books and we've talked about my book and like where they are in that. You know, some people have published, some people are working on publishing, and they just, you know, are in different places. And so when my friends do end up actually publishing, I try to kind of order them whenever I can. And so there's like, some of those are in my cart. Some of them are saved for later. Like some of them are just like, kind of like I wrote them down somewhere and I'm going to like eventually put them in the cart. Like I'm always taking notes. So that's, it's great community. And just finding where you belong, not burning any bridges, I think is really important too. Like, I think that there's a time and a place to stand up for yourself. And I totally believe in that. But I love that TikTok won't let you post like, F you stupid, you know, like you can't post that. They will take it down because it doesn't do anything. does it communicate anything? It's just anger, and there's no place for it. And so I love that, like, you do want to have a communication with someone online. Like, you're going to have a conversation that's you just saying things about yourself. Because I've noticed I got taken down a couple times where it's just like, I wasn't even trying to, like, I said something like, this effing guy. And it was like a joke thing. Like, it wasn't even like, it was not even about an actual person. It was about like the video. And they took that down and it was like a warning. And I was like, "Ooh." And so there's like knowing the rules on book, such an important thing. Like, you will get censored. Like, I saw a girl recently got censored because her mic, she was going like this. And I wish I could remember her name. They thought she was smoking something. Like, and so her videos kept getting taken down. I'm like, that's happened to me where it's like, I'll have a video that gets taken down and they're like, this has alcohol and drug use. I'm like, it's literally just pictures of like a bar. It was like a scan through the pictures. And I was like, oh, I can't do that? Oh. But then I, like, so BookTok is complicated, but it's fun.
What advice would you give to new book talkers?
Definitely finding your niche is like one of the most important things, because you're gonna want to entertain everyone. So I say you because I'm always like, I love giving people advice, which I usually end with like, but do you? So like, I'll say you, but I'm like, this is what I do. Take it, take it or leave it. Take little pieces from it. Like, that's how I give advice. Where I'm like, I don't know everything at all, but here's what's worked for me. Um, I've posted videos that a lot of them relate to my book, but they're not just direct book content. Because I noticed that, unfortunately, I was doing book reviews at first. Book reviews just like don't get views, and that's lame. Some people have figured out how to do it. Like, there's this one woman I used to follow who would post, like, she would just say like a line, like as if she's the actual person that it's happening to. Like, she'd be like, I got trapped with my boyfriend on a vacation. I'd be like, oh, that sounds interesting. And I really liked her. So I was like, that's one way to do it, but like, I'm not going to take her thing. And so I like tried a couple book reviews, and I tried to do theatrical book reviews where I would like act out scenes, and they would get more views when they were better quality, but still like not much. And it wasn't like getting me followers. And so I discovered like what people were liking is when it's things that people would watch and go, oh, me too. Me, same. That's me right there. And so like that's what everyone wants to see, which I get it. Like, we all are looking for connection, which is you find connection within something that like mirrors you, which is, so you're gonna find it. So as soon as I started finding that those people, mostly women, I love everyone, very open person to everybody, but like I have a special connection with women online. Like, there's just a lot we talk about, and all women. I believe trans women are women. Like, this is everyone who represents themselves as femme, like they can talk to me, but also everyone else too. But like, there's like a special thing with like BookTok women who are kind of dealing with their trauma and are writing through their trauma and like using their past experiences. Like, I really like kind of like nailed it down where I found so many people that whenever they post, I'm also like, oh, same. And so when you just have that and it's just going, it's like same. It's not like Arrested Development where it's just like I found those women online, and even when I say it, I'm like, does this make me like a narcissist, or vain or something? I'm like, no, it's been great to find that connection. And so that's who's really following me and commenting and reposting. And during big moments in the world, like during the election, I post my views because that's something that's important to me. I don't post like negative things, or I'm not like F everybody else or anything like that, but just things, my views, to like find people who also want to support each other and feel their feels however they're feeling right now. And that has also following the trends of what's going on in the world, because I'm here and it's happening, and I separate myself as much as I can. But books are also political. My book is very political. The other books that I'm working on are political. They're all about civil rights and human rights and women's rights, every single one of them at their core. And then I around that have like my humor. And so also just going up more, like on my TikTok, I post the humor and I post the dark humor and I post the things about the rights that I believe people should have. And so that has found me my audience, so that when I randomly, it doesn't feel random when I post these things. No one's reading them and going like, who's following? Why am I here? And then unfollow, try to avoid that. Hmm. I mean, it just kind of goes back to finding your people, is that they're out there. There's so many kind people that care about you. Um, I'm the kind of person where it's like, there's like kind of this joke online where people are like, oh, I get drunk or whatever, and I go online and I'm liking everybody's videos and sending them messages like they're my best friend. I do that all the time sober. Like that's just, I love seeing these people who are like being their genuine selves or trying things, especially young people, which I know I've seen TikTok is showing me these people, and it's caught on that I'm doing this because I am a mom and I'm raising my daughter to know that she can be whoever she wants, love whoever she wants, hate nobody. And that's something that's very close to my heart. And so whenever I see young people online that post about that need like a mom to like say something, like those are those people that I'm like commenting for. And so what I'm basically telling all of them is to just know that whatever they're feeling is valid, whoever they want to be is valid, and that there's going to be a lot of hard times, and I'm so sorry, and that sucks, and it's not fair, and it really isn't. We know that, but you just have to take care of yourself, be kind to yourself. Don't be the voice in your head that's telling yourself the mean things, because there's going to be plenty of people doing that. And also don't be the voice for anyone else that's just like telling them the mean things. If there's someone out there that's saying something awful, like get away. I do speak up, but also only speak up when it's safe. There's a time and a place, and that doesn't make you a bad person if today can't be the day you speak up. Sometimes you're going to be in an unsafe place, and don't do it. Don't put yourself in any danger, because something could happen. So just, take care of yourself. Number one is take a bath, put some ice on your face, take a breath, relax your shoulders, stretch every day, eat every day, drink water every day.
And
Go
like you were
outside.
saying, community is important as well. And
Yes.
I know that coming across people that as far as like the writer space and getting involved with that, having people who have those same views as you, they kind of add a little bit of confidence to be like, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
And back to the narcissistic feeling, it's not really that much, because you realize there are other people that, oh, we all feel the same.
Yeah.
So we all have this shared interest that I'm able to express and that other people are able to enjoy.
Yeah. And I think I've heard people say, and it's not a fact, don't quote me on this, but narcissists don't ask themselves if they're narcissists. And so I think that that's another thing that helps you remind yourself, like, I'm definitely not someone that's aspiring to be humble. Quote her, Kamala Harris. But and I love that. But at the same time, I think that people work for their confidence. Like I have let myself be very under other people's thumbs and a doormat and not confident at many points in my life. And that's why now I try to be more confident, because I don't want to let that happen. And so I want everyone to do that. That's definitely something that I've given it to so many random people. I'm like, maybe I'm a weirdo, but also if like one person hears something that they like need to hear, like I'll be at like a store and like someone's trying something on and I'm like, yes, you look amazing. Like, just so you know. And it's like that feels great for me when I hear it, especially if you're not being creepy, which is the fine line, which is hard to figure out. But finding those safe spaces, and sometimes that means that you don't say anything, and that's the way you support people. Like I definitely try to bite my tongue sometimes, because I'm like, maybe that person doesn't want my advice, or maybe that person is just in their own world. But when I do have those times where you see someone trying or a friend trying, support them, and they'll pay it back. Karma's real. I think so. Like in its own way. It like is literally like, it's like whatever you give out into the world, it's like people are going to treat you how you treat them, at the very just like basic part of it.
Do you think BookTok has helped more women share their stories?
Yes, how empowering it has been for so many women. I thought that my story was unique. And not that like I thought that I was the only woman that's ever I was in a series of unfortunate relationships, we'll put it that way. And that's one of the things that inspired me to write my book. And I've found so many women that are doing that, and also finding out a lot of things that they do. Like one of the things that people have figured out is that like writing spicy scenes can help them actually claim back some of their power. And so it's one of those things that like there could be stigma. I know I've had stigma for the things that I've done, and like there was a little bit of shame coming out with writing, because you have to I should stop saying I have to like let go of my inhibitions when I write. Otherwise it's like, Tom said hi to Harry, you know, like you want it to be real, and you gotta just let it go and not worry about what people think, especially if it's not like, I'm not writing anything to hurt anybody or anything hateful. So as long as I know that, at my core, like I'm doing the best that I can.
Tell us more about your book.
How to Murder a Monster. I'm like, did I even say this? I'm like, not even talking about my book. How to Murder a Monster is a psychological suspense, is like where I'm putting it, but it's definitely a genre bending. I've got the dark comedy. I'm inspired by Jordan Peele, and the taking a real issue that's happening with people and putting everyone who's watching, oh, my heart just started beating, so I was like, it's scary. Putting everyone who's watching kind of like in their shoes, and it's not because it's like in your face horror. Like I love like the Us with like just the wide eyes. I'm like he's so scary, and it's like he's barely doing anything. He's just like letting you experience it, and that's what I want to be. Like I aspire to be like that with women's rights, and specifically women in abusive relationships or escaping abusive relationships, and not mostly psychologically abusive, the insidious forms. And so like that's one of the things that I love about the genre bending and like bringing that fantasy in, which is where I'm wrapping it all back together. In my book, a lot of the times I want there to be moments where you're like, is this a ghost? Or like, is this like, is this an angel? Like whatever you think is happening, like maybe. And I don't really want you to know. And I love, yeah, that's kind of, it's a little bit of fantasy, but it's not fantasy at all. And so, yeah, the genres are so fun to play with. I do want to mention one thing about my book is that I do have a lot of stuff that signals towards like how dark my book is. It is not horror. I wanted to mention that. It is not, you know, it's not like True Blood gore, which I love True Blood, but it's like, it's inspired by more of like a campy style. And so, if anything I say is scaring anyone off and making them think like, oh, I don't want like the blood and the gore, there is a little bit, but it's mostly about a woman's journey. It's mostly about this young woman's journey that I think will be so relatable. I just want to tell like almost like every woman's journey. That's a dramatic version of it, of like, obviously this is not what happened to everybody, because it's a freaking sort of chaos. It just goes, it's a wild ride.
Do you have any advice to share with writers who are afraid to start posting on BookTok?
Just do it. And like, all you have to do is create that TikTok and tell your friends. And that's going to be probably the hardest part, because it's so much easier to ask for support from people you don't know, because who cares if they judge you. But get your friends to back you up. If you don't have those close friends, find them on TikTok. They exist, and it's a little daunting, like I know, but also remember that like everybody feels the same way as you. And so there's nothing wrong with you because you want to be on TikTok. Like you're not embarrassing. Embarrassing is such a wasted emotion for the most part. Like we have it there to tell us that we shouldn't do something, but to keep holding on to that like shame and embarrassment of like, why am I posting this video? Why did I post that video yesterday? It was so embarrassing. I might delete it. Like, don't do that. Like be confident and post what you can, do your best, and give yourself time. Like just really give yourself time. Like one of the things that I do is I will post videos that I started recording days ago because I got an idea. And so I recorded myself with maybe the music I'm going to play. And I just talked about it, like talking to myself, like, you're going to do this and blah, 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 blah. And that's just in my drafts. And now the pressure's off. I have that video saved. So it's just like, take the pressure off yourself. Take any advice you find, like even everything I'm saying right now, everything you're going to see on TikTok, take all that advice and take what works for you. No one's going to have the algorithm. No one's figured it out. It's always changing. That's the thing about the internet, like always changing, but also do your research. Like, I'm sure a lot of people have probably heard about this, but people who haven't, and if you're newer to it, especially like the creator insight search, like go find out what people are searching for. Those tools are there for you. This website the tools are inside of it. You can go in and change whatever you want. You can sponsor videos that you think are going to do really well. Like if you're like, this one's going to go viral, like put $5 behind it. Like there's little things that you could do, but you have to research it and then find out who your friends are and ask them to comment and ask people for things. Like not like give me things, but like if you're like, give me money. No, you'll get those offers. Don't take the offers. They're not going to paint a picture of you. They're not going to like, it's spam. You don't need a sugar daddy from TikTok. It's probably spam. Filter it out. That's just like a little sorry about that tangent. But yeah, mostly just give yourself time, be yourself. Do not make your TikTok for what you're seeing other people doing. Because if you're all over the map, no one's gonna understand why they follow you or not. So just be be your personality, and it's like whatever you're going to be posting is you. And so if people like you, they'll follow you. And also it's going to take time because it's figuring out where to send your videos. So Google how to help your videos be seen and pretend like it's homework, like, which makes it sound boring, which is funny for me because I love homework, but like make it fun. Because if you want to do this, this is part of it. And if you don't like this part, then you might not want to do this. And that's okay. But maybe you'll find out now, maybe you'll find out later. But if you like it, then it's like, make it fun, enjoy it. Like, don't do it if you're like, crinkling your eyebrows and scrunching your shoulders, like, and not feeling happy. Like, take a break, go outside, take a breath. Follow people that support you. Delete the hate.
Are there any people you'd like to give a shout out to?
Absolutely. So all the artists are artists. I mean, we are artists in our own way, but all the authors I brought over. So Renee Riva, Elizabeth Roberts, Lydia Patrizi, Caitlin Starling. I've got other friends on there too that I just haven't like ordered their books, or maybe they're working on their books, that it's just like, I love them all, but like, trying to get some names. So it's like, if I didn't mention you, I'm so sorry. I love you still. And I will still, when you do publish, I will buy your book or I will post about it. Like, no matter where I'm at in my career, I will support you because I want to support everyone. So yeah, that's shout out for all my friends first. But then for me, I'm S.E. Ainsley, and I wrote a psychological suspense called How to Murder a Monster. It is about women's rights. It is about life in the restaurant industry, and it is about life in the restaurant industry before the Me Too movement and before COVID in the fine dining capital of California. It's the farm to fork capital is what they call it, Sacramento. And it is about the food because we are surrounded by the farms, but we are in this main city. I'm not actually in Sacramento, so spoiler, which is the good thing because I don't want to be close, but that's where it's. So shout out Sacramento because that is my hometown, which is where I wrote it. But yeah, follow me on TikTok. I want to be friends. I want to give you advice. I want to hear your advice. I love advice. I love feedback. I love talking to people. I love it when like friends will message me and be like, your audio wasn't on that video. I'm like, oh, thank you. It's like, it's good. It's just a community. So shout out to my community, all my BookTok ladies. If anyone does follow me from this, you're gonna see those connections because I'll be reposting them and sharing their videos and sharing about their books. And if you do have a book that you want me to promote, tell me about it. If it's in my genre, I will put it on my TBR. My tag is at nextonyourtbr in some places, like on Instagram, because I started off as a book review. So at nextonyourtbr will also find me, but at S.E. Ainsley is my tag for everything else, or my @ and also where you can find me on my website, just seainslee.com. And shout out to Real Publishing for doing this. I'm so excited to be able to talk to you all. You're so fun. I'm so excited for you two too. I'm so excited to watch this blossom and see like all the different authors. It's going to be so cool. Thank you for doing this. This is just supporting. It's so kind.
I did have one question for you. Are you a silent writer, or do you always have to have music playing in the background or something going on for you?
Silent. I write in my garage in a nook. Sometimes you'll see it on my TikTok. I try to do more of the aesthetic scenery as much as I can, like in my backyard, on walks, on vacations, wherever I am, books that I'm promoting. But for the most part, I spend time in my garage, and I will either listen to thunderstorms because my brain can't stop singing. Yeah, my brain can't stop singing when I hear the words, even if I don't know the lyrics. I've got a very busy brain, believe it or not, with how fast I talk. It's not surprising, but it's like there's so much going on. And so if like I'm writing a book, I'll be like, what if I wrote a book about this? Or I'll be like, what if she did this? And I'm like, she wouldn't do that. And I'm like, well, then you should write a book about someone that does. And so to stop that, I listen to thunderstorms. I just discovered this, like something I saw online, like everything in the world, someone said listen to thunderstorms if you can't listen to music, because otherwise I would hear, a siren, any little, like my cat would hiss at my dog. I'd be like, oh, and then I'm like, now I'm focusing on that. And so if I get distracted, but when I listen to thunderstorms, I forget that it's not raining and storming. It's so cool. It's like this like experience. It's like a little bit of like this cathartic experience where I'm like writing like my truth, and it's like storming. And then I look outside, I'm in California. And so it's like bright sun shining through the window. And I'm like, don't look. I'm like horse blinders. I'm like, no, it's just dark and stormy night. That fits my genre a little better.
Thanks for tuning in to the So I Wrote a Book podcast, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.